I'm here to tell you not to neglect the small spaces of your home like your entryway, and also that it's okay to paint wood. I know I made a lot of people mad when I primed and painted my front door, but it will be okay, and I'm honestly not even sure it's real wood. I also reframed the front door, and then I built this entryway built-in for more storage for my home. I know a lot of people are really intimidated by building cabinets, but they're really not as hard as they would like you to think they are. I mean, come on, they charge an arm and a leg for them. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you and tell you that they're not a lot of work, because they were. But they're also pretty straightforward. You really just need to make sure they're square. The cabinet boxes were made out of 3/4 of an inch sanded plywood, and the doors are 1x3 primed pine along with some brown board in the middle. I really did these doors super simple. I put them together with pocket holes. Now don't go anywhere just yet. That was just the beginning of my entryway remodel. I had this useless to us coat closet that I wanted to turn into a saltwater aquarium. And we also planned on putting the cat litter box in the bottom of that space. The room to the back of that coat closet was our laundry room. I originally had built this little scrap wood broom closet that we hung there, but since we wanted back access to that aquarium, we decided to take it down. Also, because the litter box is going into the bottom of here, we removed the carpet and I put in this faux wood flooring because I feel like carpet and litter box is not a good combination. And of course, I put a little cat door so that way she could get to her litter box easily. Then to make sure this was super secure and the fish tank isn't going to fall on Ellie while she's using the bathroom, we put a galvanized steel frame right here so that way it's nice and secure. This is going to hold how many pounds?
Hello? Shit, I can stand straight up. Look at all this wasted space.
Hello? Namaste.
Oh, it's pretty damn sturdy.
No deflection.
So
I think the tank in the water is going to be probably 400 pounds.
And you're only 2.
Thanks.
Do I need to get there with you to test it
You
out?
round it down. No. I think we're golden.
All right.
Is that the cool kid say? Getting a little crooked.
Yep, we're making an access panel for the drywall so we can freak all the internet out by cutting into drywall. Because, you know, we don't know what we're doing.
We're going to remove a stud.
We're going to remove a stud and have the whole internet freaking out
There
again.
can't be 2 studs in this house.
No.
I'm leaving.
What you doing in there? So the reason this access panel is so big is because we can't just waste all this room up here. So I'm going to put a floor up there. All this is going to be waterproof for the fish tank. And this up here will just be storage that we can access from this side. And yes, we're removing a stud, but don't worry. We will reframe it.
Not only is it not load bearing, which has been confirmed, but this whole wall is empty.
Yeah,
And we might end up cutting in a door.
this little corner right here is empty. Like, Tyler's like, you should just like remove this and rebuild it and make it a door. I'm like, dang it. Now I can't get that out of my head. Now, because we did discover that was an empty little spot inside the wall right there, we couldn't just let that space go to waste.
Oh, yeah. This is going to work. We can put shelves in here. Got it. I was trying real hard not to lose my hat.
And for everybody who asked, we did cut a little spot on the inside of the closet so that way we could stick a phone and a flashlight and a camera inside so we could make sure it was hollow before we took out the drywall. And just like we thought, it was all hollow, so Tyler got his Crocs in sports mode and started taking out the rest of the drywall. And because I'm a DIYer, this is what our house looks like the Friday before Christmas. But that's okay, I knew it would all be worth it. I put a whole bunch of pocket holes in this plywood so that way I could make some shelving for that hollow area, and we also finally moved our chandelier. When I built that entryway built-in, I didn't really think about the placement of the chandelier, and it was in the way of that right top door opening. To be honest, it was like that for several years before we finally got it moved. And of course, my supervisor has to check out my work. I just put these shelves in with pocket hole screws, and I could have made them adjustable, but I just didn't really want to be honest. I knew exactly what I was putting in this shelf, and if some homeowner in the future wants to move those, they can figure out how to do that themselves. And then here I'm building the face frame out of primed pine. It's 1x3 primed pine, and I put it all together with pocket holes. And yes, I use my kitchen island as a workbench because it just works really well that way. And this is about the time where it finally starts coming together. I did use edge banding on the front of those shelves to make it look like a solid piece of wood and not just plywood. And I did just build regular doors here. The original plan was to put that wall rack back on as a door door, but then it was going to be way more complicated and I was kind of overcomplicated at this point. But can you believe all that space was just wasted? I know some people think that the more storage you have, the more stuff you'll have, but I'm okay with that. But anyways, back to the aquarium. So we did remove that stud. Don't worry, it was not load bearing. I did check. I do kind of know what I'm doing. I've been doing this for a little while now, but we did reframe it just to re-support that stud. And then I'm using primed pine for the frame, and I'm pocket hole screwing those together, and I did a test fit just to make sure that it was all going to work out before I put it all together. And we just attached this to the framing with my 18 gauge brad nail gun. Now, because we don't need all that ceiling space for the aquarium, I decided to put a piece of plywood up here so that way we could use that very top area for more storage, because you can't have enough storage, right? And for everybody concerned that the saltwater aquarium can ruin your drywall, don't worry. I treated this like the inside of a shower, and I used block and wall, which is like a liquid rubber to go along all of that. And then I used outdoor paint just to paint it blue. And then this wood piece is what the front of it's going to look like. This is meant to look like a built-in armoire. I also built more doors for the back right here. This is going to be a regular style cabinet door and then a lift up door for the top. And that beige stuff is like a bulletin board. And of course I had to add more blue paint to the door so that way you can't see white whenever you're looking into the fish tank. And the door had that liquid rubber on it as well. This is oak I'm putting on the front. We're putting this on with piano hinges because oak is very heavy. I was super excited for this part because this is when it finally started coming together. I swear my husband barely waited for the paint to be dry before he put the aquarium all together. And can you guess who's in charge of the camera in this shot? Never trust a man, am I right? Now I wanted this armoire cabinet to be 2 separate doors so that way the top can open separately from the bottom. And I did want it to look like an actual cabinet. So here's where I'm cutting out feet from a piece of oak, and I got it stained and then screwed onto the bottom, and it turned out perfect. Look at that. My inspiration actually came from an antique dresser that I found on Pinterest. And then I just brad nailed these faux drawers on, and I did end up putting handles on there later. I used the same handles that I used in the rest of my kitchen, so that way it all kind of ties together. So that was how the front opened up, and this is how the back opened up. The front is on there with magnets so they stay closed. And here you can see that gorgeous hardware that I use. And just a reminder, this is what the space looked like whenever we first moved in. I will say I do have to go through and get rid of things and reorganize this entryway built in every once in a while because it does get pretty messy sometimes.